Hello, I'm Brian Noble from FPIW. I am the CEO and president.
Hi, and I'm Brad Payne, President of FPIW Action.
A couple of disclaimers before we get started. None of this video should be considered an endorsement of the candidate, nor the candidate's endorsement of FPIW, nor FPIW Action. It's simply a meet and greet of each candidate, and it is to help the public get to know the candidates. Also,
Perfect.
this will be posted on several platforms as we go. So, Brad, why don't you start with our first question?
All right, Rich. Nice to have you here today. Thank you for
Thanks.
joining us. So my first part's kind of three-part question. One is just to introduce your name and the position you're running for, and then second is to just give us a little bit of background on yourself, and then tell us a little bit about your family.
All right. My name is Richard Bright. I'm running for 15th District Legislative for Washington State State Rep, Position 2. And then as far as my family, we moved out to Washington State, I don't know, when I was a teenager. I joined the Army to go to college, and that didn't work out. I just stayed in the Army because every time I tried to go to college, they sent me off somewhere else. And I was never able, I have a lot of college. I probably have enough for a BA if I ever, put it all together. But I've been in the United States Army for 26 years. I retired in 2010. Um, I hate poor leadership, and communication is a big part of that. And so every time I've joined an organization, I've eventually become the leader of it. I just get frustrated with that kind of leadership. As far as my goals, I have been very frustrated with the Republican Party's lack of leadership. When they take control, we give them control, and they just don't lead. And so I'm hoping to bridge some of those communications that I've been successful with. I've been the president of a union for 8 years, which was a federal tech at the Yakima Training Center. Um, I've been the president of several motorcycle groups that support veterans and other issues. I worked in Olympia as a volunteer constituent for motorcycle rights. You may know of Abeta, Washington. And so I actually worked, I can't say I passed them because I wasn't a legislator, but I shepherded 8 bills that I wrote and 5 that I was able to get through the legislature and become law. Most were motorcycle rights type, giving us the right to freely do our pursuit of happiness as we choose. I am quite frustrated with the lack of, well, a good example of this is if you're familiar, this year alone, Washington State has something like 5 initiatives that are going to be on the ballot. And to me, that's a failing grade of the legislature who claim to represent the people, but yet the people push back and say, you don't represent me. You pass laws that we don't agree with. And that's not the best process. We have a representative government that's supposed to represent the people. They're only in office 60 days in an off year, and then for budget years, 105 days. But for almost 300 to 200 days, they're back in their district and they're not even plugging into their constituents and not available. And that's frustrating too. So that's kind of my feeling about some things. I'm not sure what else you want
Oh,
or
that's
what you
good.
see. Please ask questions.
All right. So let's talk about your motives for running for office. You talked about leadership, and you talked about some frustration. Anything else motivating you to run for office?
Yeah, I mean, because I worked the bills in Olympia, I really love that process where different people, different ideologies, different ideas come together to work for the public, you know. It's not just enough to go down there and be a no vote. Anybody can go down there and be no and obstinate. But when important bills are on the line, we need our legislators to go to the other party and say, hey, let's talk about these bills that you're supporting and get them on board to not just be a no vote, but also work with their, reach across the aisle and get those people to work with us, because it's obviously not working statewide or federal.
Okay. Brad?
Yeah. So you kind of answered a little bit in that my next question, but you've already talked about some concerns. My question would be, what do you hope to accomplish if you're elected into office? What's a couple of your primary goals?
Um, just recently, as I've announced my candidacy, I've been reaching out to the county commissioners. They're the ones that are really in the district full time, and so I asked them some questions. What are some of your issues? And I'm going to make sure that if I'm elected, I'm going to go and reach out to those local leaders and really dig deep into what they need. It isn't just enough to go up there and say, well, I have a badge, I'm a representative. Am I really representing my people? There's a lot of family issues that are going on in our state, and it isn't just enough to be a no vote. We've got to go and fight for the families, the people that are in our districts, and the people that are in our state. We need to make a better future for our state. I really see us going down a wrong road. If you're familiar, the legislature had lots of great reasons to give Jay Inslee, the governor, their legislative power. He is an executive. I find that to be unconstitutional to give a governor legislative power. That violates our state constitution, which is a very powerful document compared to even the national, our federal constitution. Our state is very clear about our actions in the legislative and imbalance between the judges, the legislators, and the executive branch. And they gave that power away, and he still hasn't given it back. That's a dangerous road that we're leading on. And I don't see Bob Ferguson as being a better choice for that either.
Okay. Our fourth and final question is we provided for you a list of our 18 top priorities of FPIW action and FPIW, ranging from individual freedom, property rights, quality education, parental rights, those kind of things. Any other comments you'd like to make on those or speak about?
I think the family one is I raised a daughter on my own. She's 19 now. She graduated high school. I wasn't sure if that was going to happen. But what I fear right now is there's a push to take the government to replace the role of the parent. There is nothing in my heart or in the Bible that says that parents shouldn't raise their own children. We make parents responsible for them until they're 18, but somehow my daughter can't take an aspirin at the hospital or excuse me, at school, but they could give her puberty blockers without my permission. And that's a dangerous thing where the government thinks that they can raise my children better than I can. God gave us our children to raise, and their impact on the world is like a ripple in a pond. One little drop and it affects everything. And if they're not good and they're not good human beings, that's not a good world that we want to live in or give to our children. The other topic you mentioned was property rights. My goodness, code enforcement is not there to help property owners use their property, whether it's business or personal use. It seems like they're a stopping block for anything that you want to do with your own property. And all the different counties have different rules. Why isn't there more of a state property rights that is, instead of letting the code enforcement build fiefdoms to control our own property? I've bumped heads with them a couple times, and I don't think it's the best agency to do that. I like to see them support people better. When you look at this natural gas and propane bill, there's 800,000 people who have Washington Natural Gas. They're going to spend up to $20,000 a piece to revamp their homes for electricity on a grid that's already suffering, and they're wanting to put lawnmowers and cars and everything else while simultaneously attacking and not defending the dams. That is ludicrous. What? That just doesn't make any sense. I don't know how people can double down on that. I think University of Washington alone is going to spend something like $8 billion to convert their campus to electricity. It makes no sense. Those representatives who voted for that need to be removed. And I just can't understand that they're not in tune with the people. My goal is to reach out to my neighbors and represent them, and not my own ideology, but their needs, and not just my beliefs. So
Awesome.
All right. Well, Rich, thank you so much. We appreciate you taking the time to talk with us this afternoon, answer our questions. We appreciate it, and wish you luck over the next few weeks of the campaign before the primary. And thank you again for joining us.
I've got a tall order. The gentleman I'm running against voted for gave money to Bob Ferguson, Jay Inslee. He was a delegate to Obama. I know you're not trying to be partisan, but to me, that's not a true conservative Republican. That's someone who's simply picked the R because they can get elected here. And I don't believe that the person's really a Republican. And if he was a D, I'd have more respect for him because at least he admits who he is and what his beliefs are. And then you can find a middle ground. How can you even find a middle ground with someone who's not willing to declare their true beliefs or their truth colors? I have a lot of concern, but I appreciate your time. And I think you may already know that there's only two people running, so I'll also go on to the general, and that's when the time is probably better for me to really start digging in. So that's my
Excellent.
Okay.
goal.
All
All
right. Well,
right.
thank you again. I appreciate it. I'm Brad Payne with FPIW Action.
And I'm Brian Noble with FPIW. Again, nothing on this recording should be taken as an endorsement to the candidate, nor the candidate's endorsement of FPIW, nor FPIW action. Like we like to say around here, love your neighbor by faithfully stewarding the public square. And for all of our defenders, go and defend and advance biblical values in the public square. God bless.